So share with us, this is a big story. First of all, what were you doing in the corporate world?
Yeah, great question. So I started out, went through the college path, did all the things society tells you to do, got a nice job at VF Corporation. So I was actually big in supply chain. They're one of the biggest apparel companies out there in the world today. And I was the one behind the scenes planning how much should we buy of this apparel? How much should we buy of these jeans? And, when are we going to sell them and how? And from there, moving up in the corporate ranks. So went from being a planner to a manager, and was continuing on in that path when I realized the higher up I moved, the less time I had with my family. And that triggered a calling for a change. And at the same time, actually, a very stable, large company, but at the same time, they go through their rounds of layoffs too. And while I didn't get caught up in the layoff that was happening at the time, it was a spark to recognize that I was dispensable. They didn't owe me anything, and they didn't have to keep me on. And at the same time, I didn't have a lot of freedom and flexibility while I had this, young family at home. And then it turns out another one on the way. I found out a few months later. And that was like a wake up call that, what, I could follow this plan that I thought everyone was supposed to do, or I could create something that was a win for me.
Okay, I want to dig so much here because I think this is really interesting when we think about that spark moment of pivoting in a new direction and how it gets inspired by many different things. Often, can be some big challenge in our life or something that happens in the outside world. And, as Layne and I are recording this, it's the middle of COVID. We're quarantined. It'll be released. Hopefully we will be long out of quarantine by the time this episode is released. But that's where we're at today. And I know that a lot of people are sitting in that space of going, I'm not in control of my reality at work. And it's hard to make a pivot when you're working for a company versus having your own company. So that's powerful. That's realizing you're dispensable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, and to really stack on what you said there too, Amanda, I mean, it's when you are not in control, not to where like, I have to have a firm grasp on every single thing that happens in my life, but for you to be able to make the pivot in the ship that you're riding on. I mean, there's so many things that you can do in your roles in corporate, but let me tell you, it really opens up when you're steering the ship of your own business.
Yeah.
And you have a lot more say and control, and honestly a lot more fun.
Yeah. Let's dig there. Because this is interesting, right? To think about the cozy comfort of corporate six-figure world versus stepping into entrepreneurship. How long did it take for you to get into that place of like, oh, this is fun?
My first client.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I mean, and I'll say like, it's tough to figure out, like, all right, moving from, corporate world to, hey, maybe I'll do this online business thing. Seems like that would work out nice. To then being like, okay, now how do I actually get clients out of this? There's this big wide world, and, I put my website up and no one seems to be, calling me. So from there, once I figured out that piece and actually got to a spot where I could find clients, that first client was basically, I put together a proposal that sounded really fun for me to help her with her business. So I just I picked all the things that I knew I could help her with, and I, put that together in a pretty little package. And I was excited to do it, and she was excited for it to happen, to help her business grow.
To listen to the full episode, head on over to nfacoaching.com, hit the podcast link, and it'll take you to all of the full episodes. And go ahead and leave some comments. I'd love to hear from you to know how these inspirational interviews, tips, and tools are impacting you in your life and business. And be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on any of the Max Potential Habits episodes.